I don't know how to describe it other than to say that it was absolutely insane. I mean, I, like you, did not see this coming. I went downtown where the rally was at on the Ellipse much earlier in the day before the president came out and spoke and everything. There were thousands and thousands of, supporters down there with Trump flags and hats and everything. Everybody was just, getting along in a great mood. Everybody was friendly. I walked through the crowds to get to and from there. It looked like it was just a really great, I guess, support rally. Like the ones we've seen President Trump have so many times. And then I retired back. I went back to the House because we were about to get on the floor and start voting. We got back there. Senate came in. We started the joint session. And then, there was some opposition to the first state, which was Arizona. And they retired to the Senate. We stayed in the House chamber. We started debating. Maybe 5 or 6 people had spoke at that point, and things were going fine. And then all of a sudden, let me just start by saying earlier in the day, there had been a couple of bomb threats in some of the House office buildings, and they'd been evacuated and then resettled and then evacuated. But, that kind of stuff happens all the time. Anybody can pick the phone up and call in a bomb threat, and they do that just to disrupt stuff. So nobody, thought too much about that. And then we were sitting there going through this debate process, and all of a sudden, the Capitol Police come into the chamber, and they're making all kinds of noise. And then all of a sudden, you can just hear them locking the doors. Click, 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 click. They're locking all the doors, and they post themselves inside. So one of the other members tells me, like, oh, there must be a bomb threat. Well, I knew immediately. You and I have been around the White House for a long time and know how the security works and everything. And just common sense says, hey, if there's a bomb threat, they're probably not locking us in the chamber and posting armed people on the inside with us. This is something else. And I knew right away that there must be somebody inside the Capitol wasn't supposed to be in there. So they said, hey, look, we're going to stop for a minute. Everybody just keep your seats. We're going to figure out what's going on. Leadership was getting briefed by Capitol Police, the few that were in there with us, to kind of figure out what was happening. Then all of a sudden, you could hear this like, boom, 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 right? And you can hear some yelling and stuff, and they're like, everybody get the gas mask, get your gas mask out and prepare to don your gas mask. There's tear gas being deployed in the house. We may have to evacuate, and we're going to go through an area that's been gassed. That's when I knew, like, wow, there's not just somebody in that. There's more than one person in here, and that's when it really started to get real. So everybody got their gas masks out. Nobody actually donned them, but we took them out of the packages. Everybody was ready to put them on. Everybody was kind of getting apprehensive about what's going on here. You could hear lots of yelling. You could start smelling a little bit of the tear gas. You could still hear the boom from the tear gas cartridges going off. And then all of a sudden, there was just intense pounding on a couple of the doors, and people were trying to break the door down. They had locked the doors, but they weren't just pushing or knocking on the doors. They were throwing themselves in the doors. The doors were buckling. So at that point, everybody just kind of started getting toward the other side of the chamber, which was over near the speaker's lobby. And I was already in the back. So there were a couple of Secret Service agents there, and they said, hey, give us a hand. So we started grabbing furniture, and we drug furniture and piled furniture in front of the doors, big cabinets and stuff. We were piling as much stuff in front of the doors as we could. And at that point, people said, well, why did you stand there? And there was 4 or 5 of us there, some of the Texas delegation that were back there together. We stood there in front of the door just waiting for them to come in. They said, why would you do that? And I said, well, honestly, it was just fight or flight, right? That's what kicks in. And you looked around and there was nowhere to go. So flight wasn't an option. So we just thought to ourselves, like, they're about to come in here. What can we defend ourselves with? So we started breaking up some of the furniture. We took some of the wooden furniture, started breaking the legs off of it to use as weapons. And all of us had a piece of furniture, a wooden leg, that we had taken. And we were standing there. We just got right in the door where they were about to come through. And we were standing there hoping if they came in that we could persuade them to turn around, or we could keep them from coming in, or we could make a pathway for us to get out. About that time, I had bent over away from the glass to knock a piece of wood off that was on the bottom of the stick I had. And I heard like pop, 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 and the glass just started shattering everywhere right next to my head. And I don't know if it was rounds coming through. I honestly don't know. I'm confident that it probably was. Some projectiles were coming through the window, knocking the glass out. And at that point, that's when the Capitol Police, the few that were in there with us, decided it was better off for us to take our chances and go out the other side, because none of us knew where they were at. They were all over the house. So they were trying to keep us there because they didn't know, what routes were clear. But they decided at that point it was better to take the chance, get us out of there, try to get us to another secure place. And that's what they did. They moved us out the backside, took us